So I want you to try and imagine the entire Milky Way galaxy tonight. But looking through this massive stack of sources you sent over for today's deep dive, I realized we kind of need to ask you to view the night sky completely differently.
Oh, absolutely. You really have to leave traditional astronomy at the door for this one.
Right, because we usually picture this, random swirling cloud of gas and dust and stars, but the text asks us to picture it instead as this colossal precision engineered mechanical egg.
Yeah, it's a total shift in perspective. You have to start thinking in terms of, like, cosmic architecture.
Exactly. Like inside this cosmic shell are just infinite, perfectly interlocked gear systems kind of grinding and turning over these massive epochs. And our entire solar system, it's literally just one tiny gear assembly in that massive machine.
Right, and that architectural framework is really the foundation of what we're unpacking today.
It is, because the mission for this deep dive is exploring this truly mind-bending set of ancient texts that make a staggering claim. They say our current human civilization isn't just, stumbling blindly forward through history.
No, not at all. It's supposedly being actively driven right now by this highly organized group of 49 cosmic beings.
Right, the Maruts. And we're going to get into how they manage us from these specific solar and lunar paths. Plus, dive deep into some ancient descriptions of their vehicles that sound, honestly, indistinguishable from modern autonomous drones or UFOs.
Yeah, the level of mechanical detail is wild. We're not dealing with vague mythological gods throwing lightning bolts.
No, we're talking about an elite force operating from celestial command centers. And crucially, we'll uncover the mechanism behind how these 49 beings supposedly engineer the very fabric of our modern religious and political ideologies.
Which is huge, because whether you view this source material as literal hidden history or, some incredibly advanced ancient metaphor for astrophysics or just pure mythology, it provides this intricate framework for how humanity connects to the cosmos.
For sure. But before we get into their current mission, we have to look at the engine room. We have to grasp the machine they operate within. The sources describe this mechanical Milky Way and state that the connection between the shivling and the shivlingi acts as the literal drive belt for the galaxy.
Right.
Now, for the listener who might just picture traditional stone sculptures in a temple, what exactly are we looking at mechanically out there in space?
Okay, so think of it as the central transmission of the galaxy. In this context, the shivling represents the central axis, right? Like the immovable axle around which the entire galactic disk turns.
Okay, so it's the core spindle.
Exactly. And the shivlingi is the base receptacle. It's the energy field holding that axle in place. So the energetic friction between that axle and the hub acts as the supreme drive belt.
Sending rotational momentum out to all the planetary gears.
Yes, it keeps everything turning.
Got it. And every massive machine has a chain of command, right? The texts outline that the current overarching manager for this massive epoch, like the CEO of our current geological age, is an entity named Vara.
And then if you zoom in a bit closer to the sub-age, what they call the Manvantara Devta, that managerial role shifts to Vaman.
But then when you zoom all the way down to our specific human layer, the 28th Kaliyuga First Prakriti Yuga Chakra, the beings sitting in the driver's seat for us are the Maruts.
Right. They're basically the designated middle management for current human civilization.
But to understand how they got that job, we have to look at this totally bizarre origin story. It involves a sage named Rishi Kashyapa who had two wives, Aditi, the mother of the Devas, or gods, and Didi, the mother of the Asuras, the demons.
Yeah, and this is right after a massive cosmic war where the Devas obtained immortality and just completely wiped out the Asuras. So Didi is left grieving and, well, furious.
Completely furious. So she demands a son from Kashyapa, who is capable of killing Indra, the king of the Devas. She basically wants an ultimate assassin.
Exactly. And Kashyapa agrees, but he lays down this monumental condition. He tells Didi she has to perform a strict, purifying penance for exactly 1,000 years.
1,000 years. Just meditating.
Yeah, without breaking focus once. If she builds up that much spiritual energy, she'll birth a super being powerful enough to overthrow the gods. So she conceives, and she begins this millennium of meditation.
Which is crazy. And Indra obviously sees this assassination plot brewing, so he comes down and actually starts serving Didi during her penance.
Right, he's bringing her water, tending to her needs, just hovering and waiting for her to slip up.
And for 999 years, she is absolutely flawless. But with one single year left to go, she makes a fatal mistake.
She falls asleep.
Right, she falls asleep during the day and her head rests on her feet. And the text says this made her impure and broke the penance. But I mean, mechanically, how does the geometry of her sleeping position ruin 1,000 years of work?
Well, it helps to view this ancient ritualistic penance not as like a moral test, but as the charging of a massive biological battery.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Didi was building up a closed circuit of immense cosmic energy. So by falling asleep out of rhythm with the sun and allowing her head, which is the highest energetic point, to touch her feet, the grounding point, she literally short-circuited the flow.
Oh, wow. So the closed circuit was broken.
Exactly. The energetic purity was lost.
That makes so much more sense than just, a random rule about taking a nap. So because she shorts out the circuit, Indra seizes the moment. He uses his power to enter her womb, takes his weapon, and slices the embryo into 7
Right.
pieces.
But because she had charged that battery for 999 years, the embryo doesn't die.
It's too powerful.
Yeah. So Indra panics, and he slices those 7 pieces into 7 more pieces. 7 times 7.
Which gives us the 49 individual pieces. I always pictured this less like cutting an apple and more like, I don't know, hitting a pool of liquid mercury with a hammer.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, because you don't destroy it, it just instantly beads up into 49 perfectly intact, smaller versions of itself. So he goes in to stop an assassin and accidentally creates an entire squad of 49 immortal beings.
He really did. But the crucial pivot in the narrative happens when Didi wakes up. Because she actually acknowledges that she broke her own circuit. It wasn't Indra's fault.
Right, she takes the blame.
She does. But more importantly, because Indra spared these entities and physically divided them using his own high-frequency divine energy, they actually absorbed his power.
Okay, so instead of seeking revenge, they become this universal defense force forever guarding him. The text says they carry Indra's electric weapons.
Exactly. We completely transition from this mythological family feud into the creation of a heavily armed, highly organized, cosmic military group.
Tasked with a very specific administrative mission. And that military structure leads us directly to their methodology. Because if they're this elite cosmic defense squad, they need a way to patrol and manage their territory, right?
Right. And this is where the sources plunge us straight into technological descriptions that are incredibly difficult to distinguish from modern reports of UAPs or, UFOs.
Yeah, because the texts explicitly state the Maruts live in space. They aren't just floating on clouds playing harps. They possess what the ancient Sanskrit terms antariksha yan.
Skycraft or space vehicles.
Right. And where does it say that exactly?
Well, the Rig Veda, specifically Mandala 5, hymn 53, verse 8, actually calls out to them to come to us from space. It explicitly notes they are equipped with sky-navigating crafts.
Okay, I have to pause here and throw some skepticism at this.
Sure.
Because when we read ancient texts, there is this huge danger of projecting our modern technological obsessions backward. Are we just taking poetic metaphors about the wind or a thunderstorm rolling in and yelling UFO when it was really just some ancient farmer trying to describe a hurricane?
It's a totally fair question, and it's a necessary filter to apply.
Yeah.
We definitely shouldn't jump to conclusions.
But is there a genuine textual case for advanced technology here?
There is. What makes the Marut description so compelling to UFO theorists isn't just the mention of the sky. It's the highly specific, mechanical nature of how these crafts operate.
Okay, so how do they actually move in the texts?
Well, the source material highlights verses describing their chariots as moving entirely without horses. They move without a driver. They move without reins.
Wow.
Yeah, and the text notes, these vehicles raise dust and travel the sky path autonomously to achieve their objectives. They're manipulating spatial energies rather than relying on, animal labor.
I mean, a chariot without a horse, a driver, or reins, hovering and raising dust. If you drop that description into a modern military debriefing, they would immediately classify it as an autonomous drone.
Without a doubt. When you combine the specific terminology of antariksha with autonomous flight capabilities, and the fact that they're this organized military group carrying electric weapons,
It paints a startling picture.
it really does. It reads like a literal account of an advanced aerial deployment. It perfectly mirrors modern UAP theories, where witnesses describe glowing orbs or metallic crafts operating without visible propulsion systems.
Just executing maneuvers that defy standard aerodynamics. So if they possess this fleet of autonomous space drones, where are they deploying them from? Because the texts say they use these vehicles to manage human civilization, right?
Yes, and they operate from very specific vantage points in our solar system. The 49 brothers are divided into 7 groups of 7.
Okay.
But crucially, out of these 7 groups, Only 2 are ever tasked with running human civilization at any given time. Group 1 operates from the sun, and Group 2 operates from the moon.
It's essentially a massive dual-monitor control room for planet Earth.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like one team is stationed at the sun, another at the moon, managing what the sources call the Prakriti Yuga chakra.
The human civilization cycle. And unlike other massive cosmic cycles that encompass the whole galaxy, this specific gear assembly is completely Earth-centered.
So how does that work mechanically?
The mechanism relies entirely on proximity. The texts state the sun and the moon actually move closer and further away from the Earth to create different ages, or yugas.
Wait, really? How does the physical distance of the sun or moon actually change a human age down here on the ground?
It acts as a shifting broadcast signal. According to this framework, the physical proximity dictates the spiritual operating system of humanity.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So when the sun is nearest to the Earth, the solar signal is strongest, creating the Treta Yuga. This is an era characterized by a very high spiritual resonance.
Okay, so human consciousness connects to the divine through deeply structured intellectual means.
Right, specifically the 3 Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda.
So it creates an environment where humanity is capable of holding a very high-level, disciplined spiritual connection.
Exactly. But when the moon is nearest to the Earth, it creates the Dwapar Yuga, which shifts human consciousness into a slightly different, more turbulent frequency. The signal changes.
But the sources also introduce a third location in this orbital dance, right? It mentions a place called Rahu. And traditional astrology treats Rahu as a shadow planet or an invisible lunar node.
They do, yeah.
But these specific texts give it a physical gravitational definition.
They do. The texts point to a specific shadow node where the gravitational forces of the celestial bodies neutralize. It creates this perfect point of equilibrium in deep space.
And in modern astrophysics, we call that exact coordinate the L2 Lagrange point.
We do. It's the very same phenomenon.
Wait, are you telling me this ancient text is describing the exact gravitational sweet spot in space, a million miles away, where NASA parked the James Webb Space Telescope?
Yes, the text states that when the sun and moon are both far away from Earth, the divine connection and management of civilization are handled from this invisible equilibrium point, this L2 Lagrange coordinate.
That is staggering. The idea that an ancient manuscript is referencing a gravitational dead zone a million miles away to explain cosmic management.
It's mind-blowing.
But let's look at our current age. The texts say we are in the kaliyuga. The traditional high-frequency divine connection from the sun is at its weakest. So how does that affect us?
Well, the spiritual frequency available to humanity basically plummets. Because the primary solar gear is further away, the methodology of human connection shifts.
So we can't tune into it anymore.
Right. Humans are no longer capable of easily tuning into the high-minded philosophies of the Treta Yuga. Instead, consciousness shifts toward yantra and tantra.
Like mysticism, ritualistic mechanics, material worship.
Exactly. The texts note that some even resort to Viparita Veda, which involves darker magic or blood rituals. The physical position of the celestial gears literally dictates what frequencies the human brain can tune into.
So the Maruts are adjusting the dials from the sun and moon, just changing our reality. But the source material pushes this concept into deeply uncomfortable territory here.
It really does.
Yeah, because the management from the sun and moon isn't just about abstract spiritual energy. The sources claim these solar and lunar broadcasts directly dictate the exact religious and political systems humanity follows today.
I mean, this is easily the most provocative claim in the entire framework. It posits that the Maruts are the designated architects behind all major belief systems on Earth.
All of them.
All of them. The texts state they govern the 3 god systems, meaning they are the actual engineering force behind the Egyptian pantheon, the Greek gods, the Mayan deities, and Norse mythology.
And it includes the one-god systems as well.
Mm-hmm.
Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, and the Vedic principles.
Yep.
According to this ancient model, every major temple, church, mosque, and synagogue is ultimately plugging into an operating system designed and updated by these 49 brothers.
And the framework extends beyond theology, right directly into sociology and politics. The sources explicitly state that all right-wing political ideologies on Earth are driven by the Maruts operating from the sun. And conversely, all centrist political ideologies are driven by the Maruts operating from the moon.
Okay, listeners, I need you to please hear this clearly. We are purely reporting the highly specific claims made in the source documents you provided. We are not endorsing this celestial political theory, and we are absolutely taking no side on any political alignment.
Right. Definitely not taking sides.
We are simply examining the ancient claim that our modern ideological structures have an extraterrestrial origin point.
And as analysts, we kind of have to ask how this would mechanically work, right? If you live in a mechanical universe, human thought and societal structure are just measurable frequencies.
So the Maruts are broadcasting an ideological operating system?
Exactly. Polytheism, monotheism, right-wing traditionalism, or centrist moderation, these are just different softwares downloaded into human consciousness to maintain order.
Order out of chaos, because human civilization is inherently volatile. So the Maruts are depicted as using our deepest, most passionately held beliefs as the literal gears to keep the Earth turning smoothly within the larger mechanical egg.
It's wild. It completely reduces human history from a series of, independent philosophical awakenings into a highly managed top-down engineering project.
I really want you to consider what that implies. If this framework holds true, your most deeply held personal beliefs, how you vote, how you pray, how you structure your morality, it might not be a purely independent human thought.
Right.
It might be the result of a solar or lunar frequency broadcast by an ancient squad of celestial administrators. I mean, it is the ultimate simulation theory written thousands of years ago.
It really is. And we've covered incredible ground today unpacking this. We completely dismantled the standard view of the Milky Way, replacing it with a mechanical gearbox driven by a central galactic axle.
We explored Diddy's broken energy circuit, which led to Indra accidentally forging an immortal defense force.
We analyzed the chilling mechanical descriptions of their Antariksha Yan, those driverless, hovering sky chariots that offer this crazy ancient blueprint for modern UAP theories.
And we looked at how these 49 brothers station themselves at the sun, the moon, and the L2 Lagrange point to broadcast the frequencies that dictate global religion and political ideology.
It is a phenomenal synthesis of astrophysics, sociology, and ancient engineering. But there is one final component of the source material we really must address to see the complete picture.
Okay.
Because throughout this deep dive, we've examined the gears, the vehicles, and the societal software. But we haven't discussed the payload.
The payload, wait, what are they transporting?
The text described the concept of jivatmas, which translates to souls or individual units of consciousness.
Okay.
The sources state that the sun, the moon, and Rahu, that invisible L2 Lagrange point, are not just vantage points for broadcasting ideologies. They are the literal physical gateways for souls entering and leaving the Earth.
They are the loading docks for human consciousness.
Exactly. And the text provides this haunting statistical breakdown of the inventory. It states that during the Satya Yuga, the ancient era of absolute truth, 75% of the souls entering Earth through these celestial gates are purely divine in origin.
Okay, but what about now?
Well, in the kaliyuga, the fractured low-frequency age we are currently living in, the supply chain flips completely. Right now, 75% to 95% of all souls incarnating on Earth originate from the much lower, denser realms of King Bali.
Oh, wow. So the vast majority of people walking the Earth right now, according to this mechanical framework, have been drafted up from the cosmic basement.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It fundamentally changes how you view the population of the planet. So I would leave you with this final thought.
Yeah.
The next time you walk outside at night, look up at the moon, look at the sun tomorrow morning, or just stare out into the blank space where you know the James Webb Telescope is orbiting at L2.
And wonder, right, are those just dead rocks and invisible points of gravity? Or are you staring at the active, buzzing transit hubs, filtering and processing the souls of absolutely everyone you will ever meet? Definitely something to think about.